Circa Tonight, powered by SharpStack. Matt Brown and Steven Anders getting you ready for Thursday night football, going through each and every game on the NFL slate. Any plays, any leans, any games you want to fire into the sun. Steven, how you feeling, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Looking for a bounce back from last week. I don't know about you, but it seems like the gap between the top couple tiers and the bottom tier of this NFL to this point in the season is a lot wider than, say, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And it's been a little challenging figuring out whether the value is on some of these big number dogs or not, or whether it's just an outlier situation that we haven't seen in a lot of years in the NFL.
Of course, you are sitting there in that beautiful sports book there in Kentucky. Circa got that miniature version of what you get out here in Vegas. Got to head out there and take a look at that if you haven't done so already. And of course, we'll be featuring SharpStack here on the stream. If you haven't given that a whirl, 7 days free with TNF Live as the code, 25% off when you go ahead and subscribe. And by the way, it's not just for football, adding it for basketball. It'll be there for all of the sports, adding features and everything each and every day. You can compare lines, compare props. You can look at the EV tool and see if there's anything. I mean, it's just a super, super awesome thing for people who are looking to take that next step in their sports betting journey. So again, TNF Live, 7 free days, and then 25% off whenever you decide to go ahead and use it. Steven, we are a little bit away from kickoff here. It is 7.5 in favor of Baltimore on the road at Miami. We are 51 and a half, about half and half out there as to where this sits on the total standpoint. We get Lamar Jackson back for Baltimore tonight. Actually, we get everybody back for Baltimore tonight. A completely clean injury report for Baltimore heading into this game. Miami on the other side spoiled a lot of people's plans in Survivor last week as they show up and knock off the Falcons and the corpse of Kirk Cousins. And so can they get a repeat performance here at home? It's the other side of a touchdown though, Steven.
It is, but I think it's appropriate. I mean, a couple of reasons why. If you look back at when the Dolphins played at Buffalo a few weeks ago, I think you and I would agree with Lamar Jackson on the field. They're pretty close in rating. They probably should be pretty close in rating to what the Buffalo Bills are in that top tier. Maybe not quite what the Kansas City Chiefs are at the top of the league, but close. And we basically have a situation where if we flipped home field for that Dolphins and Buffalo game a few weeks ago and take away the points you get for home field advantage, we're on the other side of 7 here. So I think this is appropriate. I think the only question becomes, do you have to downgrade a little bit on Lamar Jackson with his first game back? There's typically been a narrative about quarterbacks in their first game back from injury being a little bit rusty with a hamstring. It doesn't mean he's maybe not going to run as much. So there's some unknown factors there as well. For me, since I believe the spread is appropriate, I think it sets up for a nice teaser leg here. I know it's a bit of a high total, but I'm ready to just tease the Ravens here. That traditional teaser, 6-pointer down through the key numbers of 7 and 3. And I feel pretty good about that with a couple of options that we have here on Sunday. And as you've talked about in the past, Matt, with a Thursday game, if you get that first teaser leg home, kind of sets you up nicely for Sunday to know where you're at going into those Sunday kickoffs.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those too that if you don't want to, you don't have to ask for the full 6 from the book. You can just take 5 and still get it through the 7, 6, and 3. And that is something, can help you get some better prices out there on this. I already have this kind of as, this is basically my anchor leg for this week because I like it so incredibly much. I know that there's that whole deal about quarterbacks and rust and yada, yada, yada. But look, he could have played last week and they held him out until this game, Steven, because they wanted to make sure that he was completely 100%. He ran full reps with the scout team last week and they still held him out to make sure that he would be ready for this one because they knew this was kind of the easy stretch where they were going to go in and start to rattle off some wins here and try to get back into the playoff picture. And so I am under the assumption that Lamar is a full go. I'm under the assumption that we are going to get the Lamar that we are accustomed to getting. And so for me, I played the rush yards over. They basically priced this as if we are not going to be getting full Lamar. We got 34.5s out there in the market, Steven, like for Lamar Jackson, right? And the thing about Lamar, and you talk about 34.5, which I guess are gone. No, there's a 34.5.
No, there's one there.
Yeah. is this is like under the assumption that there's no designed runs basically for Lamar, because this would be what he would be expected to scramble for and not like have any sort of design runs really at all. And so for me, I think we still get a couple of designed runs for Lamar. And then of course, just his scramble factor in which he can get half of this for us on one single scramble. I'm going to go against the books here and think that Lamar actually is a full go. This is priced as if he's not. And so I'm going to try to take advantage of it. I could be wrong. And I could be proven wrong. And I'll probably know right off the bat, right? I mean, if he looks out there and doesn't look right, then, maybe I'll try to buy off of it or something with an in-game prop. But like I said, he ran full reps. I mean, he ran full reps with the scout team last week and they just decided it was best to give him that extra 5 days to get ready for this game. And so I'm expecting Lamar to be Lamar.
Yeah, I think it's a good look. If you're right, if your theory is right that he's closer to full go or is full go, this is a number that he failed to go over on only 4 times in the regular season last year. So, and some of those games could have just been, crazy positive game script and Ravens dominating. So I like that angle. I'm in the rushing yards angle here too for the props for TNF. Okay. And my guy is just above you here on the board on SharpStack. It's Keaton Mitchell. And I got to give credit to our friends who host us on YouTube on 4for4 Live on our YouTube stream. Their staff does a great job with props. And Connor Allen put this out yesterday on Keaton Mitchell. He put it out at over 12.5 as we are going live right here about an hour and a half before kickoff. That 12.5 is gone, but you can still find a 13.5 at a couple spots. And Connor still liked it up to 13.5. Now the handicap here is pretty simple. If you believe the head coach in John Harbaugh, he said, quote, "One of the many things we looked at during the bye week was tagging plays for Keaton Mitchell. We just said we got to do it. You want to make sure that Derrick Henry gets his reps and Justice Hill is effective, but we just said that we got to tag plays for Keaton Mitchell and make sure we get him the ball." So that was said after last week's game. He had 4 carries last week on a season high in snaps, despite a game where the Ravens only had 59 plays on offense. They're typically living around that high 60s, low 70s range. Mostly neutral game script as well last week with a backup quarterback against the Bears. We're projecting for a much more positive game script, maybe more opportunities in the second half if the market is right about the spread of them being more than a touchdown favorite. Also a short week. Wouldn't surprise me if they throttled down Derrick Henry a little bit on a short week. So let's see here. But I think 13.5 for Keaton Mitchell is still a decent look here if you take the coach at his word from last game.
No, absolutely. I think it's a really good look. One that was part of I always will do these kind of like standalone games just to kind of have some fun. I will always do like an SGP or whatever. I had that as part of my SGP tonight as well, mainly because we're looking at a 7.5 point spread. And if it goes in that direction and Baltimore is controlling this game and they understand what's in front of them, which is they got to basically, they don't necessarily have to win out, but you get my point, right? I mean, like every game is critical. Derrick Henry's not going to be getting unnecessary reps in this game. Like if they're up 20 points in the fourth quarter, like Derrick Henry's not getting those reps. It's going to be Keaton Mitchell. So I think there's a couple different paths, like you said, additional work that is promised to him anyway. And then also just the blowout factor, which could be in play here as well. So love those looks for sure. And again, we'll circle back to this game as we get a little bit closer to kickoff, but let's continue on here with our breakdowns of this week. And Steven, let's get to the Chicago Bears on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is 2.5 in favor of Chicago, primarily out there. 51.5 is a total that we're looking at. The big question here is, do we get Joe Flacco or not? And does it matter to you out there whether you have Joe Flacco or not? I think we saw that there probably is a difference between, what Flacco is able to do with that dual threat that they have at wide receiver. But I don't know. Maybe people don't care all that much. This has come off of the 3, people taking that 3 with Cincinnati.
So always going to have full disclosure on this show. I bet and shared earlier this week with a bunch of friends the over 51.5 early in the week because I saw two bad defenses here. But then the Flacco news hits us as a surprise on Wednesday, and I had to buy out of that over 51.5 with a under 52.5 while it was still available. So I'm off the total here because of the Flacco uncertainty. That shoulder injury, I think, is what led to the offense stalling and blowing that lead against the Jets last week. It was, they just couldn't get anything going towards the end there against a bad defense. So on top of that, Trey Hendrickson may not play as well. And this defense is already horrendous. So I think as we sit here on Thursday evening, East Coast time, there's some upside here in betting the Bears. Number one, if Flacco doesn't play, I think this is probably going to at least get to the key number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does play, I'm fairly confident he's not 100%. So I don't even know what that's going to look like. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. Bought out of the total, back in on Bears under 3, played it at -2.5, -115. There's some spots where that's available. I feel pretty good about it. This Bengals defense, man, is just bottom 3 right now. 31st by EPA, bottom 3 by success rate. And we know that Ben Johnson and the Bears offense want to run the ball and hide Caleb Williams a little bit. That's been their entire MO out of the bye week. And this Bengals rush D is dead last in the league by EPA allowed per play over the last 4 weeks. So just leaning into this uncertainty with their quarterback and their best player on defense, in my opinion, unlikely to play at this juncture.
Yeah, it is to me as well. I mean, it'd be a strong lean towards the Bears. I think also too, just there's a lot of injuries over there on the Bears side of things too that we need to monitor as we get into tomorrow when we get the final injury reports. But it's certainly not one of those things that isn't going to affect the Bears squad either. So I just want to make sure that it's not completely terrible for them before I put the bet into my account. But
yeah. You talking about the receivers primarily here?
Receivers. I mean, DeAndre Swift was like being held out. They're saying maybe precautionary, but whatever. Although Monongai looks pretty awesome out there to me, actually. Like, I think he can play. But just stuff to kind of monitor, just making sure people are aware of that more than anything else as we head into that one. Okay. The game that is the most interesting to me this week from a betting standpoint, the San Francisco 49ers on the road at the New York Giants. This is sitting 2.5 in favor of San Francisco. It has moved to 3 at one of the big national books out there in favor of San Francisco. 48.5 is the prevailing total out there in the industry. Now, Steven, we do not know who's going to play quarterback for the 49ers currently, but it does not seem to matter as all the 2.5s are juiced heading towards the 3 because we get a pretty horrific injury report coming out of New York for the people that they may or may not have available. Of course, they lose Scattaboo last week for the season as it is anyway, but lots of defensive dudes hurt, lots of real, starters on a team that isn't very good in the first place.
Yeah, my work is done here. You could see the defensive injuries coming here with what the Niners already were dealing with going into last week and then with what the Giants had coming out of last week's game. So bet a 46.5 early in the week. I would still be talked into something under 50 here with just what we know about a Kyle Shanahan offense against bad defenses. And this is an injured defense, in particular, the cluster injuries in the secondary for the Giants. And then the other side, I wanted to dig into the drop in the Niners defensive production as these injuries have piled up. And for the full season, they are 21st in EPA per play allowed, 26th in success rate. But the last 4 weeks in particular is why, when these injuries have mounted, they've dropped down to 25th and 28th in those two metrics. And the Giants offense has actually been above average by EPA in the games that Jackson Dart has started this year. So I think this is 2+ matchups for the offenses. I think we'll have points. Who emerges with more points and basically a pick'em spread here? I don't know, Matt. That's where I'm not sure. Just as a 49ers fan following this and following kind of what they're allowed to see from the practice reports, from the beat reporters, I think it's another Mac Jones week, but wouldn't surprise me if the Niners are very secretive with this, but it seems like another Mac Jones week at this juncture.
Yeah, the kind of reading the tea leaves to me as well. It seems like a Mac Jones week, but again, who knows with all this.
And probably no Ricky Pearsall yet either. So probably still the same weapons they had last week.
I lean towards the 49ers in this, even with kind of the lackluster performances we've seen from them, but don't know if it's going to be something that I end up firing into the account or not. The Falcons are on the road at the New England Patriots. This is sitting in that dead zone, 5.5. 44.5 years your market low, 45 out there totals as well. We said it at the top of the show. Kirk Cousins, just absolute complete dust. Was one of the worst quarterbacking performances of the entire season. Watching him, dude's got to retire. He's not going to retire because the money is owed to him, but like, I mean, it's horrific. That was so bad. And New England just continues to roll on. I mean, this is an unbelievably efficient offense under Drake May. I mean, he just continues to kind of baffle here, considering there's not really an alpha receiver. There's not really, the running back situation is all kinds of influx. The offensive line isn't the greatest, but they just continue to do good things out there, Steven. That said, it's that dead zone of 5.5. I mean, I think if you're playing New England, if you want to play New England, I would probably play alts and play 6.5 or something or whatever. I wouldn't probably just play the 5.5. I mean, it's 6 is not going to come into play all that often, so you'll get a better price on it with all of that. Penix day to day, what do you say here in this one?
Would you agree that this is kind of a similar matchup to what the Patriots had last week with a questionable quarterback? Now, I'm not going to say Michael Penix is Dylan Gabriel bad, but he's certainly been below average, 23rd by EPA plus CPOE. His completion percentage over expected in particular is only better than Cam Ward, Trevor Lawrence, and Dylan Gabriel. So it's either a banged up Michael Penix, who's had nothing but limited practices since that Bills game, or it's Kirk Cousins again. So you have a questionable quarterback situation with an offense that relies on the run going against a Patriots defense that is fantastic at stopping the run. And you have
just a little fun stat for that.
Yeah.
No running back has eclipsed 50 yards on the Patriots this year.
Yeah, they're unreal. I
mean,
no, Williams,
like 50 yards. Like, not like, I'm not saying 75. I'm not saying 80. No one has gotten 50 yards on them this year.
They are totally a pass funnel defense. Patriots top 5 by EPA per play allowed on the rush and 6th by success rate, which I think success rate's more telling for rushing because you don't get that many explosive plays in the running game anyway. So what you're doing down to down matters more. So Patriots still solid there at 6th. So isn't this it's a better team, obviously, but isn't it kind of the same matchup what we saw last week? Now, it's still expensive. This is the most the Patriots would have been a favorite against the Falcons any week so far this season, but you should upgrade them. Drake May's been awesome against middling or bad teams all year. And I don't think either of us at this point would argue that the Falcons with any given week would be an above average team right now. I don't know, maybe slightly, but I don't know. I just see similarities with the matchup last week against the Browns and a good defense and a questionable offense and quarterback. And Drake May is balling right now, man. He's number 1 in the league in EPA plus CPOE composite score. So I think it's Patriots or nothing.
Guy's been phenomenal. Like I said, for me, as one of the bets that I probably wouldn't like, I have a higher risk tolerance, I think, than most. And so like, I probably wouldn't recommend it to just a normal better or something. But like, I'll probably have like a New England minus 6.5, New England minus 7 ticket or something like that in my account at plus money, because if things go right for them and Atlanta looks even remotely like Atlanta looked last week, then they're going to beat the hell out of them, you know?
Yeah. The other question I wanted to ask you, have you looked at anything in terms of futures or awards or seeding with Patriots stuff? Because their schedule is so easy the rest of the way. This was the angle in the original win total bet we had coming into the year. I mean, they still have 2 games against Buffalo and Baltimore left in the back end of the schedule, but I can't quite get there for playoff futures with a second-year quarterback, but it's just the upside is so apparent to me here with the Patriots, it seems. I just don't know how to play it, if at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting greedy because I'm going to hit this win total for sure. And
Yeah.
so like, I'm not getting greedy on it, but I mean, I really wish I could buy long-term futures in the Patriots. Is what I wish. I wish I could buy
Next year, right?
I wish I could like already buy their Super Bowl odds like for 2 years from now. Like that's
Yeah, because
really
they're gonna be like 20-1 in February,
Yeah.
right? When next year's
like
open.
I really wish I could get like 2 years from now their Super Bowl odds already because they spent all the offseason loading up on the defense and they're going to spend all this offseason loading up on the offense. And the way Drake May is playing, yeah, I mean, give them 1 year to kind of get it under control, and then it's going to be ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, that is, I haven't really looked too much into it because I'm sitting so pretty on this New England win total.
Yeah,
so I'm
agreed.
just kind of good with where I'm at.
For what it's worth, I know some people I respect that bet 7-1 1 seed on them. Still have like a couple games where I'm a little nervous about them with Buffalo and Baltimore down the road here, but I could see it. I mean, 1 seed 7-1 is not the worst, but I'm with you on the win total. Just pocket that.
Indianapolis Colts on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is 3, starting to get some juice on that 3 in favor of Indy. It is 50.5 is your total out there. The only place not juiced, Steven, is right there behind you. If you are in a Circa market, they still have the flat 110 out there on the Indianapolis Colts. Steven, according to DVOA, I'm sure you saw this, but the Colts through the first 8 weeks are the 4th highest rated offense in the history of DVOA. Just let you know how ridiculously efficient this offense has been under Daniel Jones. I played the Colts. I have the Colts way higher, I think, than market. I have them 6th in my power ratings, which I know is higher than most people have the Colts out there, but
might not be high enough.
Yeah, I'm bought in like big time on this team a ton. And so I've been screaming from a mountaintop how fraudulent I think this Pittsburgh team is. I think over the last couple of weeks, we have discovered just how fraudulent that this Pittsburgh team is. I think people see the Steeler logo, Steven, and they still think good defense. And that is not the case at all with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And so I think Daniel Jones, Michael Pittman, and Tyler Warren, and then obviously Jonathan Taylor, going to be able to do near to whatever they want to against Pittsburgh here.
Big opportunity to bet the Colts this week and use the winnings to buy the 200-year-old copy of the Declaration of Independence that the Irsay daughters are auctioning off from Jim Irsay's collection this week. just to let you guys know. If you haven't seen that story, like go check out the incredible collection of things that Jim Irsay collected over his life. It's an unbelievable list of things. Like he could have started his own museum with some of the music and Americana that he had. It was wild. But back to football, I agree with you. I think the Colts still have room to actually grow in their market rating when they get their number 1 corner, Charvarius Ward, back from IR. Before he got hurt, he was grading out as one of the 5 best corners in the league this year. So playing without him, I mean, they might get another cornerback off IR soon in Jalen Jones. And I've been there with you every week so far this year saying that Pittsburgh's not that good. I think you have 2 offenses in particular that start very fast. Both are top 5 in EPA in the first 15 plays. But like you said, historically good offense so far for the Colts. Number 10 by EPA for the Pittsburgh offense, but bottom half defenses for both of these teams over the past 4 weeks. So I agree with, if I'm going to pick a side, I'm going to go with the Colts, but my bet was on the over 50.5 in this game. I think if that game last week and the Steelers offense could put up into the 20s against the Packers defense, then they should be able to do the same again here against this Colts defense is still kind of hurting on the back end. So, but I like both plays here. I like your bet and I like my bet over 50.5.
The one thing I would say too this week, just, we don't talk a ton of fantasy on here, but like if you're playing DFS, Jonathan Taylor has multiple 3-touchdown games. He is going to be so incredibly popular against this Pittsburgh team. And so if you kind of want to zig where everyone else is zagging here, I'd play like a Daniel Jones, Michael Pittman stack, or a Daniel Jones, Tyler Warren stack, or even a double stack of Daniel Jones and Pittman and Warren, and just hope that somehow Jonathan Taylor stays out of the end zone. I mean, it's like one of those things where I know it's inevitable, it seems like at this point, but especially if you're like just multi-lineuping these giant, massive tournaments and stuff, like I think that there is some decent leverage on getting off of Taylor and going with still a high scoring game. I mean, it says a 50.5 total, but just going on the passing side of things as opposed to Jonathan Taylor.
Don't hate it. I'm not going to pretend to be a DFS expert. I'm not great at it. This is why I have a 4for4 subscription and use their DFS lineup builders to figure all that stuff out in terms of ownership. So I'll leave that to the smarter people like you, but it makes sense. Zig when everybody else is going to zag if JT is going to be high ownership. And I would not be playing against him in offensive player of the year markets right now while he's minus 200 or so. If he stays healthy, he's the winner. It's that simple. You just got to hope for an injury, but you can't bet an injury.
Carolina Panthers are on the road at the Green Bay Packers. Another massive spread here this week. This is going to be 13.5. We've got a 14 though out there. We'll talk about a little bit later. 44.5 out there from a total standpoint. Green Bay still hadn't just blown me away yet, but the defense is good. They're getting pressure. Maybe Christian Watson's going to change the complexion of the offense a little bit more with all that. Looks like Bryce Young's going to play. He's been a full participant the last couple of days, so it won't be Andy Dalton out there. So Carolina should at least be a little bit better than they are right now, but they're not going to win. It's just, Steven, can they cover 13.5 is basically the question.
Yeah, and this is my survivor play for the week, so I'll start there. I'm playing the Packers in my last survivor entry because it looks like they might be the third most popular team this week, so I'll take that every day. The only question I have for you is if this is getting too far on the Panthers. Now, famous last words, because that was a horrible result, and I own it last week, betting the Panthers against the Bills and thinking that Andy Dalton wouldn't be that big of a downgrade. But I want to talk through this with you briefly. The Panthers were about 10-point dogs, I think, they were around 11, I think, or 12 on the look ahead here. They get Bryce Young, but it's inflated more off of an Andy Dalton game where he was a complete disaster. I mean, he cost them 2 touchdowns in the first half alone in that game with just stupid mistakes. But this is a situation, like, I'm full transparency. I'm having a hard time figuring out these double-digit dogs and if there's value in them, because I don't know if it's because teams are going for it on fourth down more, so you're more likely to get favorites who are winning by multiple touchdowns than we were in years past. But I wonder if this is becoming too much, if it is going to be Bryce Young, but also the Panthers have offensive line concerns this week with injuries. So you tell me, man.
Yeah, so I'll put it this way. If I'm betting this game, I'm only taking the points. I'm not laying it with Green Bay, mainly because Green Bay has just looked
complacent.
Like I don't know. It's like they sleepwalk through sections of games, which hasn't kicked them in the nuts quite yet, but like it feels like it's going to, which is why I don't have any confidence in this team currently. Now this could change over the next month. There's still a lot of football to be played, but like deep playoff run, Super Bowl run, all the stuff like that, like you're not gonna be able to get in the playoffs and then sleepwalk through a quarter and a half and then still win. I mean, you got to remember this. I mean, they were losing heading into the fourth quarter this past week. And then they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. And like the scoreboard's a little bit more confusing than the game actually says. But I mean, it's just,
they're baffling a little bit.
Yeah. So again, I'm only taking the points, but I'm with you. These not really my type of games to play. I can say though that we were wondering about Coker whenever he came back for Carolina. They kind of eased him in the lineup, but then this past week he got like 80-something% of the snaps or something like that. So like if you're looking for a prop in this one, especially if they're going to be trailing and having to throw just constantly in the game or something like that, like Coker's going to be out on the field for the vast majority of the snaps, running
mid-20s receiving yards, 24 to 26.5.
So something I think I'll be looking at if I do believe that this game could get out of hand. I think I do lean to the fact that it could get maybe messy, but probably just a prop play game for me.
4 targets on 65% of snaps last week. So there's room to grow if a snap share increases yet again.
Vikings on the road at Detroit. This is out to 8.5, out to 9.5 at a couple of the books out there in favor of Detroit. 48.5 is our total. File this under nobody cares what you got, but I have 7.5 in the account before this thing got too far. So I bet the Lions. I have the Lions number 2 in my power ratings. Currently, I think they are a wagon right now. What Kelvin Shepard has done with this defense, despite all of the injuries and all the stuff that they've dealt with, is nothing short of spectacular. The offense just keeps on being the offense. And I'm not a believer in J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy, the other thing about this, Stephen, you got to remember, this was a high ankle sprain with J.J. McCarthy. So, like, he wasn't out there being able to do work over this time that he was injured. This is not like the only thing you can do with a high ankle sprain is rest it, right? And so this isn't one of those deals where it's like you ease your way back. You have a hamstring injury, you can get out on the field, you just don't sprint and you don't whatever, and you kind of ease your way back in or whatever. Some of these other injuries. No, this is like you heal a high ankle sprain by keeping off of it and keeping it elevated and keeping it iced and all of that. And so I don't think he got in just a ton of work while he's been out all this time either. So they were hesitant to put him back in. They put Carson Wentz out there to be a sacrificial lamb last week. He just can't go anymore. His shoulder just completely gave out on him. If they don't have confidence in him, I don't either. Give me the Lions to maybe just absolutely blow them off, like just blow them out of the water here.
Extra rest too for both teams, but the Lions are the one coming off the bye. Minnesota TNF last week, which means the secondary for the Lions should be healthier. It looks like Terrion Arnold's going to be back, Branch off the suspension. So like this a little bit better than recent weeks with the Lions. And even before the injury, it's a small sample, but J.J. McCarthy's played one good quarter of football this year. Fourth quarter, week 1 against the Bears. So again, I understand it's not many plays. He's played 60 plays so far this year, but among quarterbacks with 50 plus plays, there's been 41 of them. He is 40th in EPA per play, 38th in success rate. He's dead last in completion percentage over expected. He's hanging out down at the bottom of these rankings with guys like Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, and Cooper Rush. So this was the other side of the teaser for me. I'll take the Lions down at 8.5 or better, down to 2.5 or better. Pair it with the Ravens on TNF. Pair it with another team we'll talk about a little bit later. But this is a very solid teaser leg, in my opinion.
Yep. I told you that I had like kind of the hub was the Thursday night football game tonight. I also have this in one of the teasers as well. Absolutely love Detroit here in this one. I think that they, like I said, I think that they steamroll. I have some alts in my account at like all the way out at like 12.5
Nice.
For this one, just because again, like I think they could absolutely steamroll the Vikings here in this one. Detroit is on the road at Houston as a 1.5 dogs. This has a total of 40 right now. Denver is not going to be the Denver defense that we have backed here on on a weekly basis because Pat Surtain is out for what looks to be a month. It'll be 3 games and then they have a bye week. And so it'll be about a month before we see Surtain again here for Denver, which really changes the complexion of the defense. Now, this is not going to say the defense is going to fall off a cliff, Stephen, but it is so incredibly valuable to know that you can roll out there and stick your dude on their best dude. And he is likely going to, you can look, he shadows 70, 80% of the time, the team's number 1 receivers. None of these guys go over 3 or 4 catches, that none of them go over 40 or 50 yards in the game. He has been an absolute baller blanket on these guys. And so that makes the overall defense be able to play much, much better because if you shut down the number 1 option, then everything has to run through either the run game or the number 2 option. Well, we'll see how Denver makes the adjustments here as they head on the road to Houston that has problems of its own on the offensive side of the ball, namely that offensive line.
Yeah, full transparency again for me. I bet the Broncos early in the week on the pass rush angle for the Broncos being the best of the league and bordering on historic against a bad Houston offensive line. And I'm missing something that the market sees with the Texans clearly, because I was on them last week against the Niners and they just kept getting bet and got all the way to the key number of 3 by kickoff. And I'm missing something again this week. It's flipped. It went to 2. There's been a little bit of buyback on Denver, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Texans money that comes in for the second week in a row. So clearly I'm missing something with the adjustments that the Texans have made. I still stand by that matchup with the pass rush, even without Patrick Surtain. But I'll just say, if I could bet it, I can't get out of it now. It's been steamed too much. I got a bad number on Broncos money line, but I would just be honest and say, if I had the chance to bet it again now, or had to decide to bet it again now, I would probably just stay away because of a lot of money backing the Texans 2 weeks in a row.
One thing I will say about the Texans, getting both Nico Collins and Christian Kirk back in this game, and it will be the first time that they'll have been on the field together. I mean, granted, if they can both make it the entire game, it'll be the first time they've been on the field together for longer than a couple of quarters, because Christian Kirk hurt his hamstring very early in the season and wasn't playing. So here's the thing for me, and I'm curious to your thought here in this one. Nico Collins listed at 60.5 as the market low out there from reception total. I'm wondering if the algorithm is still pricing this as if Surtain is out there. I wonder if it's just going off of season-long numbers for Denver, because, Stephen, you and I, we look at the props every week. True number one wide receivers are in the high 60s. They're in the low 70s. They're not at 60.5. And Nico Collins is sitting here at 60.5 with, again, the guy they wanted to be the number 2 all season long, who hasn't been available, actually coming back and being in this game, if anything, should help him, should open up more opportunities for him, where the defense can't just completely bottle down on him. Again, maybe I'm just falling for the banana in the tailpipe. I played over on Collins here at 60.5, thinking that this is just underpriced, because I think the algorithm maybe believes that this is the same Denver defense, which, as we know, it's not.
I think maybe receptions might be the better angle here. Like, I like where your head's at, but just kind of looking at the way Nico's been used this year with the offensive line issues they've had. Last week, coming off the bye, now that was a pretty positive game script. 2 weeks ago, he missed the Niners game. 2 weeks before that against Seattle, and a very good defense, who I think you and I would agree is, close to how good Denver has been. Played 51% of snaps before he got banged up, had 10 targets, but only 4 catches for 27 yards. Couple other games this year where his yardage totals have been low, despite 9 targets, only 52 yards on 9 targets. Had a couple other games with lower target totals here. So he's been kind of all over the map, but if they've solved the offensive line issues, I think the targets will be double digits in this game for sure. The only question is, have they solved the offensive line issues enough where he can hold the ball for 3 or more seconds and get some of this downfield stuff? So I don't know. I mean, I see where your head's at. I just wonder, maybe they're both good, but I am a little concerned that the yardage totals might not be as explosive, because it's kind of a Band-Aid and not a full-on fix. And the success they had with the offensive line last week was also against the Niners defense that was dead last in pressure rate this year. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see what this offense looks like, though, with both Kirk and Collins on the field together. See if they can resemble at least something that whatever. And also, this also will be the like Kirk, Collins, and then now it seems like they're handing the reins over to Woody Marks as well, which they should have done earlier as well too. And so, maybe this offense starts to resemble at least something that we could, consider to be an NFL offense. So we'll see how it all plays out, but very, very curious game there for that one. The Chargers are on the road at the Tennessee Titans. This is certainly a survivor play for many out there. It is out to 9.5 at most of the spots. 43.5 is our total. Doesn't shock me at all that it's out to 9.5. Tennessee is the worst team in the NFL, I would say, by far, but we'll get to another team that now I think is right there with them. But definitely my 32nd rated power rated team. Would make them 33rd if I could, but there's only 32 teams in the NFL. Steven, again, it's appropriate. It's just like, how long did the Chargers keep their foot on the gas? How long is whatever? I mean, Tennessee has almost shown no ability to score the football all year long. Cam Ward, wildly inaccurate. This all just seems right to me. The 43.5 total seems right. The 9.5 seems right. I don't see much of an edge here.
Well, the one concern I had with the Chargers coming into this game was Derwin James, and he got a full practice in today on Thursday. So I think he's good to go with his hamstring. So they get Joe Alt back in that game against the Vikings, and they dominated, man. And they were more than willing to let Justin Herbert throw the ball in neutral game state early in that game before they could just run the ball and at the end of the game when they're up huge. So I think the Titans are one of the worst teams we've seen since the pandemic. I think they're a dead team. I think Cam Ward is not getting better, and we have no concerns that he's going to get benched for Brandon Allen. That makes no sense. Doesn't help anything. You just got to let this kid get his reps. And from week 2 onward, so let's just give him a break for week 1, his first NFL start against a very good Broncos defense. Let's just take that out of the sample. His ranks among 35 quarterbacks with at least 100 plays, last in EPA per play, last in adjusted EPA per play, 30th in success rate, 32nd in completion percentage over expected. His EPA plus CPOE composite score would be 149th out of 156 quarterbacks since 2021. It's worse than Bailey Zappi and Davis Mills in that database. So I bet the Bolts, man. I'm in. I was worried about the Chargers the weeks where they did not have Joe Alt. They bottomed out to a bottom 10 offense in those weeks, but last week has me back in. I know that the Vikings were missing a couple guys on defense, but that's still a good defense, and they lit them up, man. As long as Herbert has time and protection, he can put up big numbers. They're not running this offense like past Jim Harbaugh run-heavy offenses or Greg Roman run-heavy offenses. So anything single digits here, like I just said the last game, I respect the market and when there's big moves and whatnot. This is the one situation this year where I don't get it, Matt, because the Titans have been bet again this week. This was 10.5, and then there was some buyback on the Titans, and there have been multiple weeks, at least 4 different weeks this year, where somebody out there is betting the Titans, and they keep getting blown out by like 2-3 touchdowns. So I don't get it. I'm happy to take the Bolts at 9.5 and look hard, because there were a couple spots today where you could find the Chargers at 8.5, which puts them in teaser territory.
Yeah.
And I bet that too. Like, I can't recommend it fully here because it wasn't widely available, but I'm just saying keep an eye out for it, because just betting basically the Titans to lose a game at this point is a gift as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and one other thing here too, Steven, just from a prop perspective, if you're playing, fantasy or DFS or anything like that, like the Titans pass defense, and if you want to call it a defense, whatever, but the Titans pass defense, obviously it's dead last. They rank dead last in basically everything. They're dead last in explosive plays allowed. They're dead last in explosive plays allowed through the air. Steven, 18.7%. Nearly 1 in every 5 passes is going for 15 plus yards. Like every 5 dropbacks, the guy is throwing a 15-yard pass. I mean, like, it is insanity. Like,
and they just traded a starting cornerback this week too.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, longest completion, all of those different things, like anything you want to get curious with in a same game parlay that like plays against this Titans defense, I think you might be looking at a 5 or 6 legger and like the damn thing hits by halftime. I mean, it is so bad. 1 in every 5 passes goes for 15 yards. I mean, it's crazy.
It's a historically bad team at this point.
Yeah. They're just so bad. They have no talent. I mean, whatever. And again, like I said, Survivor, if you want to play them, go right ahead. I'm holding on to them, but look, if you've burned some of these other teams that we have talked about, then I think you can feel very confident in playing the Chargers this week.
Yeah, my Survivor rankings this week are Packers 1, Chargers 2, because the Rams are going to be like 50% popular. That's basically where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to that game. We'll just let's hit Jacksonville and Las Vegas real quick. Yep. This is 3 everywhere except for DraftKings and Circa, which is down to 2.5. 44.5 is our total here. So Las Vegas taking some money. Steven, I don't know what you think about it, if you agree with it. Now,
Brock Bowers money? I don't know.
I was going to say, they are coming out of bye. You did get a full go for Brock Bowers. And honestly, so the word coming out, which is in a dead season, and when it's your, basically your franchise player at this point, like, they saw him hobbling around out there and they were like, dude, you just got to go get healthy. Enough. Like if we were in a playoff contention, yeah, we'd let you play through it. But it's like, look, you got to go get healthy. You're not going to bang this. And you could see it. He was Brock Bowers in week 1. Then halfway through that week 2 game, he got hit in the knee and he was just not the same. He was getting no separation. He was not, like none of the stuff that we loved about Brock Bowers. Well, they're saying he's back to 100% coming out of this bye. He's taken several weeks off. I'm going to believe him. So maybe that's enough. Like, if a tight end can move a line off a 3, I mean, shit, I don't know. That seems crazy to me, but I don't know, man. 2.5 is very tempting on Jacksonville because Geno Smith has been so incredibly bad.
Yeah. This is the game, to use your term, I fired into the sun this week.
Yeah.
And I understand wanting to take a key number of 3 with a home dog against Trevor Lawrence, who, if you've been paying attention earlier in the show, he's kind of near the bottom of these quarterback metrics. So I get it. And Brian Thomas is back-to-back limited with a shoulder. I think you're going to get a lot more Travis Hunter again this week, although the production you saw on the stat line from the last game was a ton of garbage time. So who knows here? I don't know what to do with this game. I don't know how you can rely on either quarterback. It would probably just be take the points with the Raiders and hope Bowers means a lot, but I don't know what to do with this game, man. So it's a pass for me.
I did play Hunter over. I didn't play it a full stake that I would normally play because this one is based strictly off of coach speak and not from analytics. But I mean, listen, I don't know if it was to light a fire under Brian Thomas or if they honestly mean it, but they coming out of this bye saying that Travis Hunter is going to get way more wide receiver 1 looks and that he is going to be the first read on option, like a whole lot more plays. And if that's the case, then 46 yards against this Raiders defense is way too low. Now, again, I'm believing what I'm hearing. So that's why, again, I didn't full stake this one. This is kind of a speculative, let me see if I can make some money off of believing these coaches. But, again, if he's the first read in this offense against this Raiders defense, then 46 yards is too low. But, again, I'm believing what they say. And sometimes they say things to make, specifically in this case, Brian Thomas care a little bit more. Cause it does seem like he has been very, very lackadaisical this season so far. Leading the league in drops. He's alligator armed a couple of other catches, like all kinds of stuff like that. So, I played it based off of what we're hearing and we'll see. Maybe I'll look like a fool.
Have fun watching this game, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good.
New Orleans Saints on the road at the LA Rams. This is 14.5 in favor of the Rams. 44 is the prevailing total. This is a Rams team off of the bye, getting New Orleans coming to town as they make the transition to Tyler Shook. This is my survivor play of the week. This was always my survivor play. I do the whole plan out the season thing. This was, if I made it this far, this was the play for me this week. I'm not going to get off of my plan just because it got more favorable for me. I'm getting a rookie quarterback making his first start on the road. That doesn't seem like any reason for me to get off of what is the optimal play here. So I'm on the Rams here in Survivor. So that'll be enough of a sweat for me in this one. I don't have any bets. It is worth noting Havenstein and Puka Nacua are going to be back for the Rams in this one.
Yeah, no bet for me in this one. I do think whether you use the Rams in Survivor depends on a couple of things. For you, we were talking off air, you're texting me. You basically have an entry that was very aggressive on some smaller favorites to this point. So you got a lot of the top tier teams in the NFL left, correct?
Yeah.
So I think that makes a big difference. Now, for me, in my situation, in my Survivor entry, I've already used the Colts. I've already used the Lions. I've already used the Patriots and the Seahawks. So, what that has done is made it so that there's a couple of weeks down the road from now where I'm going to need the Rams because they're one of the 2 or 3 favorites for that week, and I've already used the others. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's not just the straight fade of the popularity. This is where at this point in the season, you need to start mapping out what's left because, next week there's a really tough week if you have used a lot of the popular teams at this point. I think week 14 is another spot. Just map it out, see who the favorites are going to be for those weeks coming down the road, and decide if you need to save one of these 3 big favorites in particular with the Rams, the Chargers, and the Packers this week. So not saying Matt's wrong using them. Matt's not saying I'm wrong using the Packers. No. It matters for your entry at this point.
No, absolutely. I mean, like there are, and it does depend on the pool that you're in for sure. So like for me, we're down to, 2,057 entries out of, 18,000, and we're playing for $18 million. There are 107 teams that don't have the option of Detroit, Green Bay, or the Rams. So they've used all 3 of those teams already this week. So that's 107 clicks out of a pool. I mean, that's 5% already of the pool that is going to have a very tough click this week, right? Well, here's the other thing. There's 54 more of those. So, that if I remove Detroit from that scenario, they've played the Rams and Green Bay. So their likely play this week then would be Detroit, which is going to put them in a very bad situation here in a few weeks, right? And so I'm kind of, like you said, I'm kind of playing the chess pieces a few weeks down the road here where I see some people that are going to be in a real bind. And so I'm going to just make it through this week. Hope we lose another 5 to 7% of the field with some of these real tough clicks that these other people are going to have to make. And then the people that make the Detroit click, I'm going to have an advantage on them down the road here in a few weeks anyway, right? So like I'm okay with that as well. So yeah, it is definitely the chess game now, Steven. It is no longer just like, this is the obvious pick, so you do the obvious thing. You start wiggling and whatever and all of that. I'm not saying I'm counting the 18 million. I'm not. I'm not. There are 9. I texted you this earlier. There are 9 God entries left in this contest. Like, I will read the text that I sent Steven just so that let's see here.
Literally every top 10 power rated team in the NFL, basically, right?
Yes.
They got them all.
We are sitting here. There are 9 entries that have the Ravens, Bills, Broncos, Lions, Packers, Chiefs, Chargers, Rams, Patriots, Eagles, and Bucks. Basically everybody's top 10 power rated teams they have left in this contest for $18 million. I mean, it's like
so good.
9 God teams available. If you are watching this stream and you have one of these God teams, I would like to invest in your team right now. Like, I will be a silent partner. I won't say a word. I promise you, but let me invest because wow, that is amazing. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. All right. The game of the week here, Steven. It is the Kansas City Chiefs on the road at the Buffalo Bills. They are 2-point favorites, though 1.5 at DraftKings and FanDuel. 52.5 is your total here on the week. Now, the big news here in this one is, what is this Buffalo Bills team going to do now, stepping up in competition coming out of the bye. They came out of the bye. They get a downtrodden Carolina team that was quarterbacked by Andy Dalton and all that. I don't know if we really saw anything out of them. Now they're back home against Kansas City. Kansas City coming to town without Isaiah Pacheco, it looks like. So it'll be Kareem Hunt and Brashard Smith out there for them at the running back position. Peppered with targets again last week was Rashee Rice. Can't imagine that's going to change much. What a game. I mean, honestly, I'm thrilled that normally I hate the fact when they give us such a small afternoon window. By the way, there's only 3 games in the afternoon window. But if the one of the games is Kansas City Buffalo, which is standalone game worthy, then I can deal with the fact that they loaded the early slate and only gave us 3 afternoon games.
I could see the CBS executives saying, don't you even think about flexing this to Sunday Night Football, NBC. This is our game. This is Nansen Romo AF. This is an easy handicap for me, to be honest with you. Like, I know Matt Milano looks like he's coming back, but they also lost Ed Oliver, who I think is their best defensive player on the defensive line. It's very clear to me that the worst unit in this game is the Bills defense. Both have good offenses. Chiefs defense is improving. But this Buffalo defense has a lot of question marks. Now, if you just look at surface level and don't take into account the opponents that these defenses have faced, you have the 9th and the 14th, which doesn't sound all that different. But Buffalo has faced Lamar Jackson, gave up 40 points. They had games against Justin Fields and Tua and Spencer Rattler. Then they played another good quarterback in Drake May and allowed 9 yards per attempt in that game and lost at home as touchdown favorites. They allowed 6.7 yards per play overall to the Falcons offense and a below average Michael Penix. And like you said, they feasted on Andy Dalton last week. If you adjust for strength of schedule, and there's a metric that does that, it's called DVOA. It has the Chiefs defense as top 10 in the NFL and the Bills 20th. Very easy click for me. Chiefs minus 1.5 in this game, Matt.
Yeah, listen. It probably is Chiefs or pass for me. That being said, this offensive line situation for the Chiefs is something that didn't come into play last week, given the opponent and given the fact that you had Superman at quarterback. I don't know how much they're going to be able to mask the problems. Again, we'll see. But a couple of offensive linemen banged up for Kansas City. And if you rewatch that game, which, you know, nerds like us rewatch the all 22s every week, you kind of forget it because he made the hero Superman plays, but Patrick Mahomes was running for his life a lot in that game last week, but he just kept making the plays. He just kept making the throws. Like, I mean, it's just because he's Patrick Mahomes, but does that work? And is that sustainable like over and over and over again? It might not haunt him in this game because of Buffalo's defense, but it's just something I think we do need to keep an eye on if this offensive line doesn't get back healthy anytime soon.
Yeah, it's the only hole I could poke in this matchup as well. I'm glad you brought it up for sure. It is very valid. Just kind of looking at pressure rate over at Pro Football Reference, you know, Buffalo is pretty high up there. They're 27% pressure rate, which is 4th in the league, and they're doing it at only a 22% blitz rate. But a lot of that's Ed Oliver too. I mean, he was a very good pass rusher from an interior defensive line. So I'm still okay betting on Mahomes here. I agree with you. That is the one thing I need to monitor long-term, see when the heck Josh Simmons is coming back. You know, obviously there's something very serious going on there. I hope everything's okay, but we'll see. But that, I agree with you. That is the one potential Achilles heel at this point with the Chiefs.
Super, super high rush total for Mahomes in this game. And if you're wondering why, it's because of what Steven just mentioned. Like Buffalo, we'll see what happens with Ed Oliver, but like Buffalo is getting pressure on the quarterback at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL so far this season. And as we talked about tons of times, these guys that know how to scramble well, what happens when pressure happens? They just find the hole and take off. And Patrick Mahomes is as good at it as anybody in the league. And so if you're wondering why we're looking at a rushing total for Patrick Mahomes that is as high as it is, it's because he might have to do it. Like he might have to like take off like several times in this game. So that's another kind of the same thing with Josh Allen as well, right? The Kansas City getting pressure on the quarterback at the 5th highest rate so far in on the short season. So we might see like a We might see a scramble off in this game as well. Like just a good old fashioned scramble off between the quarterbacks out there. Sunday Night Football is Seattle on the road at Washington. This is a field goal in favor of Seattle. 47.5 is a prevailing total out there. Get Jaden Daniels back is the good. The bad immediately followed up is that Terry McLaurin is out yet again, re-injured that quad, and don't know when he is going to be back for this squad. Seattle coming out of a bye, so they're looking much better than they were. That said, Julian Love for Seattle did have a setback at practice, and so he actually might not make it back, which sucks coming out of a bye for them, but everybody else seems to be on the up and up. What say you on this one?
I haven't bet it yet. I was hoping that Jaden Daniels news would get this off of 3 to 2.5, and I bet Seattle then. I don't know if we're going to get there. I think there's too much love for Seattle in the market that we've seen in previous weeks and too much hate for Washington that we've seen in previous weeks kind of coming together here. You also have short rest for Washington against a team coming off of bye in Seattle, so that doesn't help get us to 2.5. I will bet Seattle -3 no matter what, I think, Matt. Especially with McLaurin being out and Jaden Daniels still not showing what he did at all last year. On top of that, they lost their best pass rusher in Dorrance Armstrong for the season, and they don't have much in the back end, man. This is a bad pass defense. So I think you're going to have time for Sam Darnold in this offense to execute a lot of what they want to do in the play action without much of a pass rush for Washington. So I'm high on Seattle. I have their division futures at better than 3 to 1. I think they are a top 8 team in this league at this point. So it's just a matter of market entry for me. I'm going to hold out and see if I can get a 2.5. Sometimes when the quarterback news becomes official and he's not on the injury report, sometimes weird things happen for like 5 minutes on the odds board. So we'll see. But I'm going to bet this no matter what, whether it's the 2.5 or the 3.
Yeah, I was like sitting there yesterday when the props really start to populate on Wednesdays for the books. And I was like, oh, this is going to be the juiciest, greatest bet of the damn week. I'm going to just destroy Jackson Smith and Jigba over props. The book said, no, you are not. 95.5 is the yardage for Jackson Smith and Jigba. They were like, oh, this secondary sucks and he's awesome. And so, yeah, you're not getting away stealing our money this week, buddy. I was like, oh my God, they're going to
There's a 99 now. Oh, no, sorry, 97 now.
I was sitting there. I was like, oh, buddy, they're going to put this at 79.5. And like, we are just going to, we're going to take out a loan and whatever. And it's like, nope. 95.5 at FanDuel, 97.5 at DraftKings.
Oh man, he's minus for a touchdown now too.
So yeah, I was like, well, all right, good on you, books. You didn't let me steal from you this week. So
the gravy train has ended, my friend. Over 6.5 still on the receptions for what it's worth, and the juice is -135 to -140. So if you want to lay the juice, 7 receptions.
It took him 8 weeks, but it took him 8 weeks to realize that he is just an absolute baller and whatever. Like they came out of the bye and they were like, what are we doing? Let these people rob us every week. This is stupid. This is so dumb. We can't let them do that. So it was good while it lasted. It was like Drake May rushing yards last year. You know, remember, it was just like, it was great while it lasted. Like they just kept posting it like 17.5 and 18.5 and whatever. And he just kept going over it by 10 yards every single week. And it was just like great while it lasted. RIP Jackson Smith and Jigba props, unfortunately.
Guys putting up that number of prop, that high of a line on his props, and I'm not going to get Offensive Player of the Year home because of Jonathan Taylor, man. Unreal. I know. That's going to be a tough one to swallow.
On Monday Night Football, Arizona Cardinals on the road at Dallas. This is 2.5 in favor of the Cowboys at home. 53 to 54 our total out there. Yeah, we have several games. We have multiple games at 50 or more this week. This looks to be a Kyler Murray game. They asked Gannon today at practice. He said he is taking this as if this is going to be a Kyler Murray game for them, Steven. So looks like he's going to be back out there for this Arizona team. Dallas came back down to earth last week. That was a bummer. That was grotesque. From what we saw from them last week, but they are back home. They're not at elevation. They're, we're going to see, if what we saw the first 7 weeks was actually truth, or if it was just a smoke and mirrors mirage type thing going on here. But sneaky fantasy thing for you real quick as well. Trey Benson probably got dropped in your leagues out there. He comes off IR next week.
Get him. He's
just going to take right over in this backfield, because it's certainly not going to be Bam Knight. Though it will be him this week if you need a emergency fill in, but it's not going to be Bam Knight.
And I don't think Jonathan Gannon likes DeMercado anymore.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be stealing any touches from anybody. So again, go look and see if Trey Knight's out there on your way. I mean, Trey Benson's out there on your waiver wire, but boy, I can't believe I'm saying I'm going to sit on the sidelines for this one, Steven, but I might sit on the sidelines for this one. Dallas left a sour ass taste in my mouth last week.
The Cowboys and the Bengals defenses are allowing an EPA per play mark so far this season. That would be the worst of any defense since 2021. Yeah. Both are also allowing a success rate higher than 50%. And the 2024 Panthers defense is the only defense since 2021 to allow that for an entire season. That's how bad the Cowboys defense has been. I thought they might have turned a corner with some changes last week. They got obliterated by Bo Nix. So at the same time, Matt, I got a good number. I got 3 on the Cardinals at the beginning of the week. Tell me why I still don't feel good about it. I mean, I
listen, man, I like I said, this is, I'm not running to bet the Cowboys. I mean, I think the 3 is super interesting. I mean, Kyler, you'd like to believe he's healthy coming out of the bye here. You'd like to think that maybe they figured something out.
But like Brissett looked better than Kyler both of his games. So I don't know what Kyler makes me nervous at this point. I don't know what this is with Kyler, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, did they figure something out with Harrison? Golly, it's just.
We have a defense. I have the best defense in this game.
You do at least have that.
We'll see how that goes.
You do at least have that. We'll leave it at that. Speaking of those totals that are over 50 this week, we have one tonight. Baltimore, Miami, still sitting 7.5 across the industry right now. And 51.5 is the prevailing total out there in the industry, Steven. As I said, I played Lamar Jackson rush yards. I'm playing this as if he is going to be a full go in this game. I think this is priced as if he's not. And, again, you hear from all the beat writers, you hear from everybody that this was a deal where he could have gone last week, but they wanted to make extra sure that he was 100% coming off that hamstring injury. So they waited to go this week. And so these are must-win games for this Baltimore team that's dug themselves in a hole. I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be hesitant to run the ball. I don't think he's going to be gun shy. I think he's going to do whatever he's got to do to get this thing done. And so I'm over on him. I know you're over on a rushing prop as well.
For sure. Over Keaton Mitchell, 13.5. Had tipped to Connor Allen over at 4 for that handicap. He bet it at 12.5 yesterday, said it was still good at 13.5. And if you use SharpStack, you can find a couple spots where that is still available. We'll hit the prop screen button here, show you how this works. Hit the rushing yards, and you choose the game that you want. Choose TNF. And you can scroll to the player that you want here. Here's Keaton Mitchell. You can shop all the books that you want. You can filter books as well. You can check full game, first quarter, first half, every prop you could think of here. Again, promo code TNF live to get 7 days free and 25% off. Matt and I use this basically every day during the football season. Has NBA, NHL, World Series still left in there as well. So check it out. It's awesome. I mean, you can see on the left rail here, there's an EV tool, helps you find off-market numbers very quickly. There's an arbitrage tool. It's a fantastic tool here. So get your 7 days free. Check it out. Matt and I are pretty confident that if you're a serious bettor, you're going to stick with it after that 7-day trial. So for me, Keaton Mitchell over 13.5. I'll make it quick here because I only got 5% battery left, Matt, and no more ports to plug in. So I will tell you that I'm also on the Ravens teaser leg tonight, getting that down under the key number of 3 and a 6-point teaser. Just don't pay more than -120 for your 6-point 2-leg teasers.
Yeah. Same with me. I have them as a hub of, I'll say teasers, but again, alt line parlays.
Yep.
Just to mention again, at 7.5, you only need to get 5 to get it through all the key numbers. And so with that, you're going to get a better price than you get with just the traditional teaser number,
especially at the books that aren't offering -120 anymore for the teasers. That's the way to go.
And really, really love pairing it up with Detroit. I could not love Detroit more this week against Minnesota. So that's where I'm at as well. Steven, looking forward to a interesting game tonight to see what this Ravens team looks like at full health, right? I mean, this is kind of what could we change completely on what we think of this Ravens team after this evening with a team that is coming in fully healthy. Of course, go check out Circa. If you're in the area there in the Midwest, you definitely want to check it out. It's an unbelievable place to catch games and go in and make your bets as well. For Steven, I am Matt. Good luck on all your bets.